Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we've got 9 games for you on an NBA Thursday here. We are coming off of a 5-5 night, 3-2 in the best bets, though, so we continue to roll along, up more than 28 units for you on the season. Also want you to head over and check out the Play a Props video that we have up for you today on top of the best bets we're bringing you here each and every weekday. So definitely like and subscribe to that page. Also head to thelines.com. Use that odds finder tool that we have up there. Make sure you're getting the best juice available to you from all of these books giving us bets this NBA season. Nate, let's stay hot here and finish this week really well with your first NBA best bet.
Yeah, another money line parlay here after we got that Magic Lakers parlay last night. Probably could have done the spread with both of them winning handily. But let's play it a little safer here because, I mean, the general angle, let me get into it in a second. Let me just give you the pick. Bucks, Knicks, and Nets money line parlays. All are favorites by at least 8. But it gets you minus 118 when you take all 3. And we're targeting broken teams here, 2 of which are on the road. The Hornets without LaMelo Ball almost have no chance of putting an offense together. And, I mean, the Bucks already own the Bulls, and the Bulls are basically quitting at this point. They're just waiting for Zach LaVine to be traded. He's questionable, along with DeRozan and Caruso. That Bulls team is absolutely broken. But I'm reluctant to take the spread on any of these because, I mean, at least the Bucks and Knicks are 2 nights removed from what we would call like run up the score night, where everybody had to go all out to win by as many as possible. I mean, the Bucks just needed to win against the Heat, but the Knicks had to play a lot of their guys. They had to go all out for a 20-plus point win, which Josh identified there with the alt spread at one point. But now, you know, we're going to see a more of a normal game environment where they're just trying to win. They are minus 14.5 against the Pistons, who are going to mess around and lose a 16th straight game here. I just don't think they can get off the schneid here. They've lost 12 straight to the Knicks. The Knicks just straight up take care of business against sub-500 teams, 3-0 this year, 9-2 as a favorite versus 1-5 as a dog this year. Also 3-0 with the rest advantage, and the Pistons played last night. I mean, we don't have numbers for sub 25% win percentage, but that's what the Pistons are. The worst record in the league at this point. Have no real advantage to speak of because they can't hit threes or even get good looks from threes, and the Knicks can guard the paint. So that's that one. LaMelo Ball out. I mean, where are the Hornets going to get their offense? They scored 91 against these Knicks in their first game without LaMelo this year. They are now 28-47 without him since the start of 21. They on the road this season, even with LaMelo, they have 2 wins. One came by 1 point with Indiana back-to-back. Nice fast-paced game. Washington also nice fast-paced game. But they're negative net on the road, 124 rating. The Nets have won 6 of their last 7 at home, the exception to Embiid and those Sixers. Nets are not going to be playing fast and loose. They're going to be playing well, solid defensive ball, and their offense is kind of humming now with Dinwiddie, a true point guard there, setting up Bridges. So trust the Nets to handle their business. And then, yeah, like I said, the Bulls, man, 1-8 in their last 9, 2-7 against the spread, 28th in net rating, playing at a pretty slow pace, but Milwaukee can speed them up. I mean, that's a reason to be concerned about the spread, I guess, is the pace that Chicago could play with at home. But Milwaukee, I mean, own everybody in that division. 3 in a row, despite Giannis missing almost all of 2 of those. He got injured in one. And they've sort of figured some things out lately. I mean, in their last 9, they're number 2 in net rating here in the league. And despite playing some really good teams, Dame now back to his clutch stuff. If it is close, I trust Dame to pull it out in the fourth quarter. Looks like they're going to have Middleton tonight. So, yeah, give me all 3 of those teams to just handle business.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually hadn't seen originally. That was one bet that we hadn't spoken about, the 3 teams that you took there. I like all of it. I can't see. I don't. Who messes that up, right? Like who? I can't see it. I guess somebody goes. Scary Terry goes crazy for Charlotte. I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the one. Obviously, the other 2 teams I think are better overall teams than the Bucks and the Knicks, and there's probably bigger disparities between those 2 and their opponents. I think Chicago's a bottom 3 team in the league. I don't think you can really argue much of that unless they're going to pull out of the rut they've been in for 9 straight games, really 11 to 12 straight games, to be honest. Plus, we don't even know if Levine's going to be on this team, etc. We don't even know who's going to play in that game for them tonight with all three, Levine, DDR, and Caruso, all questionable, as you mentioned. This could go up. So I'm going to go into my first bet. And I mean, we were kind of haggling with parlays and moneyline parlays here, but I'm actually going to just take that Milwaukee -8.5 at this point. I think you can still actually get some -8s. I'm not scared of it. You kind of touched on it. I'm thinking at this point, dude, like you made the nice bet. My first bet should just be the parlay of the OKC and Milwaukee lines. Like I'm comfortable with both those teams winning. So I think we're just going to say, whatever you're comfortable with. I think 0.3 units sounds right for taking that and getting a really nice pickup on your juice there for both of those teams to cover their spreads. Like I just want to, I'll add a few things to what you said and then just touch on the LA game for 1 sec. But like, as far as the Milwaukee game goes, the Bulls are they're cruising for a bruising, man, and they're going to continue going that route. The way that they keep it close is they do just make it so incredibly gross and choppy, and that's what we saw in last game. They only won by 9 points. The Bucks did. They weren't the Bucks yet. I mean, they're continuing to get better. We've been saying this since the start of the season, which was fade the Bucks covering big spreads until they figure something out. And in the last few games, they definitely have. You mentioned that defense has definitely come back to life. Well, I'm sorry, it's just started being alive. Let's put it that way. It never didn't have to come back. It was never there. And now it's starting to like shape into, okay, this is how we cover up the spots where we are weakest, especially on the wing against the three, which is not really something that I am concerned with the Bulls. If you're going to beat the Bucks, you got to have some really good scoring guards, and I just don't see that being the case for them in this game. I'll just move on real quick to the Lakers game because I think the 5.5 is fine. I thought it was going to go higher once it opened at 6, and it's actually just stayed right around 5.5, 6 points on most books for the Thunder to cover that against the Lakers. But the Lakers are on the back-to-back. I get that, like, they blew the Pistons out of the water yesterday so that LeBron only had to play 28, AD played 29. D'Lo went bananas and played like 35 minutes and had 35 points, or 34 minutes and 35 points. So he's still probably fine to play tonight. But the thing that really gets me about the benches, or about the back-to-back for LA so that they're tired legs, two things. One, they have no bench. That's huge. That means that there is no rest in a game that they're going to need rest. So, yeah, okay, LeBron and AD could be good for 34 to 35 minutes. That's already pushing it with those two dudes. But they're going to need to play 38 to 39 because OKC has the best bench in the league. The dudes they're bringing off the bench would start on a number of teams. That's why they have the best net rating of any bench unit at this point. The Lake Show are at 22nd, and they weren't always that bad. But that'll happen when you don't have Rui Hachimura, you don't have Gabe Vincent, you don't have Jared Vanderbilt. You now no longer have Jackson Hayes, who left last night's game, and that meant you saw more Hood Schifino. And I'm not going to rag on the Rook too hard, but I am going to say that he had a -128 individual defensive rating playing against other scrubs in the backups for the Detroit Pistons. And that wasn't a great indicator that he's going to bring much tonight to give AD any kind of blow. So they're getting cooked by point guards that are of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's sort of elk, if you will. Not that like you can really replicate what he does. He's going to be the best at it. But a number of scoring guards who are sort of, guys like Fox going off on them, Maxey, Kyrie, all those dudes scoring more than 28 points than them in their matchups with them this season, and just in the last 2 weeks, especially, like I said, without Gabe Vincent in there. Torian Prince is going to be playing a lot of D on point guards. Don't love that matchup. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just fade the team here that is just going to have old tired legs at the end of the game, basically.
Yeah, definitely like OKC here with the depth you mentioned, and that was before they had Jalen Williams back. So I mean, after missing a couple, so that helps their net rating off the bench. Now you get Isaiah Joe playing more minutes with that second unit. They're really going to be missing Jared Vanderbilt, the Lakers, in this matchup as they try to deal with SGA. Like you said, there's no answer. His points prop has crept up to 32.5 now. Still don't hate it. I mean, there's a different way to just play this game, which is his overs. Maybe some AD unders. I think AD's props are way too high for this matchup. The assumption being he's stronger than Chet and he's going to bully him, I guess. But Chet holds his own at times if you go right at him. And AD is shooting just dreadfully from the perimeter. So I don't know if the Lakers are going to find enough offense to keep pace with this really good team at home. So Portland at Cleveland. And it might be scary to take some points with Portland, but I will take their team total, 102.5. Very, very low. at a Cleveland defense that is a bit overrated this year. It is closer to average than it was last year.
Agreed.
And you actually get better juice if you take just both teams to get to 102, which is minus 110. I think the Cavs will be fine. They're not going to get held under 100 at home against a bottom team. But the look here with Portland is that you're getting value because their offense was truly the worst in the league when Malcolm Brogdon missed a few games. He's been back for 4. They're scoring 111. They're shooting 44% from 3, and they actually just beat the Pacers. And Jeremy Grant has been unlocked. He's getting 28 a game with Brogdon on a really efficient rating, versus he was getting his points before that, but it was not efficient whatsoever. It was just bulk shooting. They went under 104 straight before they got Brogdon back, including they had 95 against this Cavs team because they were starting Tumari Kamara, whoever the hell that is, basically something.
The Rook.
So the Cavs, they're a team that, again, I'm looking at this look that they went all out for point differential to beat the Hawks 2 nights ago. They still gave up 105 because their defense is just simply not that good. Since that win over the Blazers, when they didn't have many guys, they've allowed 112 a game. At home this season, where they were, lethal defensively last year. They're 5-5. They have the 12th best defensive rating. They're playing faster, nearly 100 pace. They're 24th in opponents' 3-point shooting, not forcing turnovers, allowing free throws. Everything's just about average. And for an average NBA score to be 103, that's well below average. That's like Minnesota at home, like what you're about to talk about when you have the Jazz on the road at Minnesota. That's the only way I'm expecting a team really to go under 100 if they have their guys. And Brogdon right now is the engine for this offense. Whatever you want to say about the Blazers not being that competitive.
Yeah. First things first, though, I won't hear any Tumari Kamara slander on this podcast. I saw him play live in Vegas on the Suns, and then he was a part of that whole trade. He's actually going to be a nice player. Play this tape back in like 3 years, and we'll talk about it then. But more importantly, I love your play, dude. I really do. I love the idea of because I was looking at, like, how do I fade this Cavs team? My first thought really was, okay, I got to fade DeAndre Ayton against one of the best defensive, front courts in the league always. And then I looked at it and I go, wait, are they? Are they one of the best defensive front courts in the league? I don't know. DeAndre Ayton might be good for 14 points in a game that I never would have said that before. So, yeah, I think it's surprising how the bad the Cavs are playing for them and what we expect of them on defense. They're a huge letdown right now. They're one of the more disappointing teams compared to the expectations coming in. So I am going to talk about this last game here for us on Best Bets. Utah and Minnesota, under 222.5 in this game. I want to call it a lean a little bit because we need to know if Lauri Markkanen is playing for me to love this bet. I really like it without him. It's a little bit scarier with him because a 222.5 in a game where I do think the Timberwolves, it might be a little bit closer than you think. I don't think there's too much blowout opportunity because of the fact that Ant Edwards is probably not playing. He's listed as doubtful, and that's it. He's the sun around which all of the sort of angles of this game that I could play gravitate to, right? And so with him off the floor right now, we don't have any numbers he's played every game, but with him off the floor in the games that he's played, the Timberwolves have a 99 offensive rating, partly due to the fact that, like, their bench is really bad right now. It's very thin, and it's not very good on offense in any way. There's no shooting on the bench there, and they are missing a few rooks that might have helped. Not really sure, but more importantly, like, there's other guys on the floor when he's not on. Like, Cat and him are not always on the floor together. There's definitely some second unit minutes, more so for Cat, I would even say, needing sort of another big man in the back end of that team after Naz Reid. But the 99 offensive rating without him on there is just indicative of what it was last year when they just didn't let him take over. When his usage rate dropped too low, this team's offense was terrible, and he's up to nearly a 31.5% usage rate on the season. Like I said, they haven't played without him yet this year. I don't know what their plan is to make up for that offense without him on the floor. Utah, on the other hand, is just literally two different teams. I can't even believe how different they are at home. They're 1-8 on the road right now, straight up, and 2-7 against the spread, versus actually a winning record when they're at home, beating like decent teams in Utah. It's wild. They're losing by 16.5. It's more just wild how awful they are on the road, losing by 16.5 points per game. They're scoring 106 points per game on the road versus the 120 that they put up at home. And they actually play slower on the road as well. I'm sorry. No, they do play slower on the road. Thank God, which helps our bet here. But they do play a little bit more slowly on the road. And without Markkanen in there, like, man, they're going to see a lot of Jordan Clarkson tonight. And he and rookie Keontae George are not working very well together. And I'm actually blaming that way more on Jordan Clarkson than I am on Keontae George. Their two-man lineups right now are really bad. When you add Markkanen in there for their three-man lineup, it's a little bit better. But yeah, this is just not a situation where I expect a ton of points between the awful, let's call it the putrid road offense for Utah and just the stale offense without Ant for Minnesota.
Yeah, and Utah's offense is going to be stale without Markkanen, for sure. I mean, I guess if you want to bet it now and hope that he's out, then you're good. I think, yeah, either way, you point out the Utah numbers. I really should have put Minnesota in that as the fourth leg in that money line parlay. And maybe you guys prefer it over OKC, which there is a little variance. You never know. LeBron and AD coming off a blowout win, got a little more rest. Maybe they won't be their typical lackadaisical selves on a back-to-back here in OKC. But Minnesota losing at home to this Utah team that has one road win that's routinely been held under 100 on the road and is now facing the best defense in the league by far when they're at home. Minnesota, even with Ant out, they're going to find a way to win this game on the defensive end of the floor, especially if Lauri Markkanen's out. Then you're just sitting pretty at what's plus 135 with those four money lines that we mentioned at the top.
Yep. Yeah, there's some bets to be made. I don't know if you're going to get some weirdness or not tonight, but there's just some really, really obviously some big blowout opportunities basically tonight, which is what indicated by these spreads. But that's all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to check out the other play props that we have up for you as well. Like and subscribe to that page. Until we see you next, happy betting.